people say that fiber is beneficial, what they're essentially saying is that if you have a poor diet, if you have a diet that's rich in ultra-processed foods and garbage, fiber would be beneficial to you because it would help. What does it do? It helps.
Well, I think it's displacing the garbage off the plate, right? So if you load your plate up with fruits and vegetables, which I think generally, I'm not a guy that says vegetables are trying to kill you, and nobody should. I know there's other people. It's kind of funny. You talk about cults, and carnivore's kind of become a cult, right? And it's not because of me. I tell people, hey, we're omnivores. This is a therapeutic protocol. Use it for as long as you like. If you want to do it for a lifestyle, have at it. It's fine. I'm not gonna. But what I think was happening with fiber in a lot of ways, because this fiber goes back to, what's the researcher's name? I'm blanking on his name. He had a cancer named after him. But anyway, from 1920s, 1930s, goes to Uganda in Africa and notices like, oh, these people aren't fat and sick like they are in England. And Dennis Burkitt's the guy's name. And he says, well, they're eating a lot of fiber. But they weren't eating a lot of sugar, and they weren't eating a lot of garbage like they were in the UK, because sugar's been around since about the 1600s and progressively has increased. I mean, the U.S. right now, it's kind of interesting, like compared to like the early 1800s, the average kid by the age of something like 8 has eaten more sugar than they would have in a lifetime back, 150 years ago. So it's kind of crazy. But
by the time they're 8?
By the time they're 8 years old, the average 8-year-old has eaten more sugar than somebody would have eaten in their entire life. And that's just the normal kids. You see some of these kids who are just like, Jamie, I got a picture I got to show you. This is so incredible, Jamie. There's a gal before and after picture. We got this food addiction stuff. So I interviewed a gal. She was 800 pounds, right? It's like, how do you get to 800 pounds? It's like impossible. Like I don't think I could do it if I tried, right? I mean, food addict, couldn't stop eating chocolate and ice cream and all that stuff. And this is her.
Whoa.
She's almost 800 pounds, or 350 kilos, which is the most I've ever deadlifted. So that's kind of an interesting weight. But 22 months she goes on carnivore, right? I interviewed her a while back, and she's now lost almost 500 pounds on carnivore when nothing else would work for her. I mean, she told me it was like, I finally found the off switch. She tried Weight Watchers. She tried like gastric band surgery. She tried vegan diet. She tried juicing. She tried Weight Watch. She tried every single thing you could think of, but could never stop. And finally, for the first time in her life, she's like, I finally found freedom from this food addiction. And, recent studies show that that other guy in the hat, this is a funny guy. This guy in the hat right there, his name is, what's his name? I'm blanking on it. Todd. He's a dude out in Montana, right? He was 770 pounds, right? Same sort of situation. Started drinking Cokes when he was 14 years old. I'm doing an interview and he goes, yeah, I didn't know who he was. And he starts telling me, he goes, yeah, when I was 14, I was 600 pounds. I'm like, what? 600 pounds at 14? It's like, how the hell can you get to 400 pounds? They're poor family, and his mom and sister and everybody in the family was, very obese, and they had tried gastric bypass and it didn't work for them. But same thing with this kid. I mean, he's just like, I call him a kid, he's 40. He went carnivore, and for the first time in his life, he's like, I don't need the sugar and I don't need the Coke. He was drinking like 20 Cokes a day or some ridiculous stuff. And he just blew up, and he could not stop and this is why, one of the reasons I think they know this. I mean, the food industry knows they're making addictive food. They clearly know that. In fact, I had a gal who worked for one of the major food manufacturing companies, and her job, she was a chemist, and her job was to design food to be as addictive as possible. And she literally told me that. She goes, I can no longer live with the guilt. I want to come work for you guys. And, she was just so just beside herself. She says she realizes what she's created with this epidemic of disease and suffering. I mean, because these people are suffering. Did you see that movie, The Whale? Did you ever see that movie?
I did not.
It's good. It's an interesting movie. So it's Brendan Fraser, and he's like 700-pound dude. And it shows he lives in his he lives in his recliner. He can't barely get up. He can barely go to the bathroom. Refrigerator next to him, and his whole life is in. And this guy did the same thing. He said he fasted one time for 40 days trying to lose weight, and he never left his chair. He just sat there for 40 days and didn't eat.
Wow.
Can you imagine? That's like hell. That's like hell on earth. But now he's going back to work. He's getting out in the field, and he's doing like electrical work or something like that. But I mean, it's just the sugar in one way. I know there's people out there saying, listen, not sugar's fine, it's all seed oils and stuff like that. But I think clearly there are people that are addicted to either sugar or sugary foods. It's like, because would you eat chocolate if there's no sugar in it? I mean, it's like, that 100% dark is kind of like, have you tried that? Have you
kind of gross.
It is. It's like the only reason you eat that stuff because the sugar's in there. So people say, well, no one's mainlining bags of sugar. But I mean, I know people that have actually done that. I mean, it's kind of crazy. You see these people that are so addicted to this stuff. But
they mainlined.
Well,
sugar?
I mean, they just eat it out of the bag. You know?
Oh, okay.
It's kind of like they're not shooting
Not
it
like
up.
an
They're not like heroin addicts, but I mean, they're like, you know, because there are people that say they'll do that if they can't get anything else, and
You just eat a bag of sugar.
they'll sit down. Well, the lethal dose for sugar is about like 5 pounds. If you like sat down and ate a 5-pound bag of sugar, it would kill you. It would literally cause you to go into liver failure. So there is like an LD50 on sugar. So it is
Over what time period?
just like whatever, maybe a day or something like that. You know, if you just sat down and ate, you know, and some of these people, you see some of these. Have you seen like they call them fat influencers, like these body positive? I mean, it's, you know, like influencers, but they're fat, right? And they're literally out there, and the processed food companies actually pay these guys, right?
They do?
Oh yeah, it's the same thing. They're getting kickbacks to promote all this unhealthy behavior and unhealthy food, and they're going through what I eat in a day, and it's like you know everything. You know, it's like Doritos and cookies and Cokes and all the garbage that they're chowing down on, and you know we got this whole the body positivity movement is being funded by the processed food industry. I mean, if you didn't know that, I mean, it's like they've clearly shown directly. They're paying these people to do this. The other thing, processed food they're paying dietitians on social media also to recommend processed foods. So it's just like it's clearly corrupt. I mean,
it's so dirty. It's such a dirty, but it's like a war against your health. And they're the enemy. They're the propagandists.
Well, and then they want to, I mean, you've seen this stuff. Like you know, they come off to you, they say, oh, he's a racist or he's a right-wing fascist or something like it. Because you're like, I don't want to be sick and fat. You know what I mean? That's what they come out and say. I was like, I'm just kind of middle. Let people live. I'm not political one way or the other. And all of a sudden, the whole spectrum just shifts way over. And it's like, if you're not promoting like craziness, you're all of a sudden this
you're a far right person,
racist, crazy person.
I've always been left wing, which is really crazy. But the left moved so far away from what the left used to be.
Yeah, now you're a fascist.
Now I'm an alt-right influencer. Yeah, I've seen people label me as an alt-right person. I'm like, that is so wild that they can do that with a straight face. Because I've said, hey, maybe we should look into universal basic income. Maybe we should look into universal health care. I think education should be free. You know, I think we should subsidize the schools, and we should fix the roads, and we should fucking fix inner cities, and we should, if you're going to use tax dollars, and if I thought my tax dollars were being used very appropriately in that way, I'd be 100% in favor of all that stuff. If I thought it really was an overall benefit to society. The problem is bureaucracy and big government is insanely inefficient.